What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Got a really impressive replay to show you guys, and this one showcases the power of the Lunalights, like what this deck can really do when it opens with a pretty decent hand, and it showcases how just fast, aggressive, and overwhelming the deck can be just in one turn. Lunalights is an archetype that I have been kind of lukewarm to. Some people even say on my live stream like I hate Lunalights, which honestly isn't really true. If you know anything about me, you know the Fusion Summon is my favorite summon. It's my favorite mechanic, and when it comes to like Yu-Gi-Oh! V, I like the female characters a lot more than the males, and a lot of the girls play fusion decks like Melodious and Gem Knights and Lunalight, so I want this archetype to be really good, but I think that me and a lot of players got too wrapped up in the fact that some of their big monsters are a little difficult to summon, and you don't look at what the deck does well. This deck is one where you're just super duper duper aggressive, and if you watch the anime, it was pretty clear how this deck was going to play, because Serena, the girl that plays it, she is super fucking aggressive. Like, she OTKs a lot on the show, and even her attitude reflects in kind of like the play style of the deck. So this deck is going to just blow you away, or at least this replay is going to probably open a couple of eyes. Like, especially mine, I was like, wow, Lunalight, like, they got those type of plays. And when you look at this archetype, you do see that they have a lot of individual like superstar cards. You know what I mean? They've got themselves a Wolf Bark, or at least let's just call it like a Blizzard. You know what I mean? You've got this card right here, Black Sheep, which can get you polymerization straight from the deck, or, you know, when it's sent to the graveyard for a fusion summon, it can get another Lunalight added to your hand. It's not once per turn. Basically, it's like the Lazuli for, you know, for Lunalights. You've got this card right here, Blue Cat, which if it special summons, it actually can double the original attack of, you know, one Lunalight except itself. So a lot of times, if you let them use that on a fusion, you are like 1000% going to get like OTK'd. Like, seriously, you are going to get raped. The only thing that this deck does kind of lose hard to is battle traps, but when you look around the format, who's really playing battle traps? You know what I mean? The fact that the deck is all Beast Warrior super helps too. In fact, you know what? Let me just go ahead and roll it, because this is going to end up being a boomer bust, and I'm going to give away everything from that video. The next boomer bust will probably be Lunalights, and man, seeing things like this is starting to really change my mind about the deck. So we got Lunalights versus Lightsworn, and Lightsworn opens up with Brilliant Fusion, gets a Wolf for free, and then he gets 1,000 Blades off the normal summon, gets a Trick Clown, so that's a free plus there. The Trick Clown is going to trigger the 1,000 Blades, and you know, he's able to go for Minerva, he's able to go for another normal summon of Raiden, and he ends up with kind of, you know, a really solid field. He has the Giant Hand as well. Card is widely accessible now, and you look at that, it's like that's a really strong field. I mean, granted, I wouldn't recommend to you guys to summon Seraphonite in attack mode, but you know what I mean? Outside of that, I didn't really see him make any misplays. He's got the Twin Twister too, got a Judgment Dragon, so even if he loses his field, Judgment Dragon's gonna come down and say, hey dog, I'm about to blow up the field, what you gonna do about it? And he's got Twin Twister to try and blow up back row. Like, his field looks extremely solid right now, but Lunalights, man, that aggro is real. So let's see. So he opens up, let's pause right quick. So he opens up with the Black Sheep. I don't know if you guys know this, but Black Sheep can actually get Fusion Substitute as well. Fusion Substitute always counts as polymerization. That includes being in the deck. So Fusion Substitute is a card you can actually search out, and it pretty much acts similar to polymerization. The only difference is you have to use it on monsters that you control, which isn't obviously as good as polymerization when it comes to fusing, but the benefit is you can actually banish it from the graveyard. You send the fusion in your graveyard back to your extra deck, and then you get to draw a card. So you can actually end up kind of paying for itself. It makes it so that you don't go neg. So he's going to normal summon White Rabbit, which I talked about earlier. It's essentially the Blizzard. It gets you another Lunalight except itself, and it gets it onto the field. Then it has a secondary effect where it can end up bouncing spells or traps back to your opponent's hand, you know, up to the number of Lunalights that you control. That, you know, obviously does not include itself. So if you have like 3 Lunalights on the field, including itself, then you can bounce like 2 spells and traps. This is one of the ways that the deck can kind of play around like battle traps, because the deck admittedly does lose hard to battle traps. So he gets himself the Black Sheep, and he's going to bounce that card. Homeboy does the Twin Twister because I assume he didn't want his Seraphonite getting wrecked. He then activates Fusion Substitute, and he gets the Cat Dancer out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not bad. Now, since he did use the Black Sheep for a fusion summon, Black Sheep is going to trigger, and he's going to be able to add a Lunar Light back to his hand. So this White Rabbit's probably going to go back to his hand, almost certainly, and it does go back to his hand. He Tinkies. You can basically search everything in the entire deck for Tinky, and like with Tinky, excuse me, and then he ends up fusing again for Panther Dancer. Now he's going to actually banish the fusion substitute, and he ends up sending the other fusion. Well, he's going to send Cat Dancer back to his extra deck, and he's going to get a free card off the draw. So that's pretty cool. And you know, he does have his Monster Reborn here, which, oh my goodness, Lunar Light Perfume just came out in Dark Illusion. The card is it's ridiculous. I think it's a super rare too. Like, I'm kind of tempted to build this deck. So you see, he sends it back. Now he's going to activate Fusion Recovery. Fusion Recovery gets you a Polymerization back, and it also gets you a card that you just used to fuse. See, one of the great things about Black Sheep is the fact that it's not once per turn. It's just like Lazuli or Obsidian and Gem Knights. You can literally, if you keep on fusing, you can just keep on using this effect over and over and over again, so that it kind of makes it diminishes like the amount of negs that you have to take to essentially fuse. So you see, he's actually going to fuse one more time into Leo Dancer, and he keeps on using that freaking, what's it called? He's just going to keep on using that Black Sheep over and over again to add the White Rabbit back to his hand. So at this point, he activates Perfume, which again is a Monster Reborn, and he's going to try and summon Blue Cat, and he's going to trigger the ability. Now, if you guys don't know about Leo Dancer, it essentially is, oh my god, I love Leo. Leo Dancer is my favorite card in this archetype, and it's not just because of the sexy artwork. It's such a great card. It's basically a 3500 attack Magic Spectre, but at the end of the damage step, it can blow up every monster on the field that was special summoned, and it can attack twice. So like, this is literally, this card can be like a one card OTK. Now what's crazier about this is when Blue Light is special summoned, it can double the attack of any Lunar Light other than it, or you know, not including itself. So he literally can boost this bitch up to 7,000 attack, and she'd be able to attack twice. Like, that's pretty much just GG no re. But obviously Giant Hand is like, you're not gonna be able to use that. So he tries to do that. Giant Hand is like, no, that's not gonna happen. We're not gonna let that happen. But the thing about Lunar Light Perfume, in addition to it being a Monster Reborn, it actually has a graveyard effect as well. That's another reason why Lunar Lights can kind of mitigate the amount of negs that they have to take. You can discard a card from your hand, and then you can actually search any Lunar Light from your deck, and then you get a, what's it called, you end up searching. So yeah, like, you banish this card from the graveyard, excuse me, and then you just discard a card, and you get to pretty much get any Lunar Lights. So he searches for a copy of Wolf. Wolf in layman's terms is a Miracle Fusion. Like, it's a pendulum scale, but you don't really pendulum summon in Lunar Lights. They only gave her pendulums because she's a Lancer on the TV show. So you never really pendulum summon in this deck, but you need, like, the Miracle Fusion effect is ridiculous because bam, look at that. Like, he ends up getting another copy of Leo Dancer essentially for one card. Now Minerva dies. Minerva really can't do much. It gets him a free copy of Fearless, but like, it doesn't even matter. You know, he even gets a copy of Thousand Blades in attack mode, but like, it just can't stop this field because, you know, these cards are 3,600 each, and they both attack twice. Now he didn't actually end up having to attack over the Giant Hand because the Giant Hand obviously got blown up by the Leo Dancer's effect. You have to remember, anything that's special summon, like, Leo Dancer's gonna blow it up, and she can attack twice. So this just shows you the power of what this deck can do. Remember, this guy had 4 monsters at the start of the turn, and he summoned Thousand Blades, and he got a Fearless for free. So basically, he got OTK'd even though he had 6 monsters to potentially block damage, and he still ends up getting OTK'd. So this is one of those duels that's like, man, Lunar Lights can be real. I mean, this guy did all of this, and he still had a card in his hand potentially. I don't know if this card is really even necessary in the deck, but you know what I mean? It may be, like, potentially still pretty good. So let me know what you guys think. My next Boomer Bust will probably be Lunar Lights. I got to look a little more into the deck and do a little more research before I can feel like I can, you know, definitely talk about it. But I'm starting to think that this deck can be a lot better than what I initially gave it credit for. You have to look at Lunar Lights for what they are and not what they aren't. This is not a Burning Abyss where you're going to grind. This is like, you know, Atlanteans. This is a deck where, like, by turn 2, you need to be killing them all the time, and they have the tools to do it. So thank you guys for watching as always.